This is an MMO shooter that throws you onto a huge abandoned island, stuck in some weird alternate reality, where Soviet stuff got left behind, after pretty much everything went to hell. And yes, you can play most of this game solo. The story and exploration work fine alone. The game is trying to do that Stalker vibe with radioactive zones, strange energy fields, and mutated creatures. And it is mixing regular co-op missions with risky PvP areas. Don't worry, these PvP areas are optional, and the game has crafting and weapon customization. Now the island is pretty massive in size, like 50 square kilometers or something, plus underground areas. But like with most games that make the world this big, it feels quite empty. Now this game has no traditional leveling system with health bars. They are going for a grounded approach where you just shoot things. You pick up story quests as you explore and can work with different factions that control parts of the island, and each faction has their own rewards. The game's combat essentially happens in two modes. The regular PvE lets you do missions against AI enemies, but the gunplay needs serious work, because the enemies either fold immediately or turn into damage sponges that take forever to kill. The AI doesn't put up much of a fight. They mostly just charge straight at you without any real tactics. Then there's the Shadowlands extraction shooter mode where you fight other players for loot. If you die there, you lose your gear, which could be intense, except the server problems and technical issues kill the mood. Now here's the thing about playing solo. The story campaign and most PvE content lets you go it alone, without forcing you into groups. You will see other players in hub areas and wandering the open world, since it's an MMO. But nobody's making you team up for standard missions and there's no forced PvP. You can explore, take quests, fight enemies, gather materials, all by yourself. But where you definitely will want backup is the raids. These are 6 group missions and clearly meant for teams. And heading into Shadowlands alone is asking for trouble since other players can jump you, but if you're sneaky it's technically possible. So bottom line, if you just want to experience the world and story without coordinating with random people, then you can absolutely do that. Now the game world itself has some interesting visual ideas. For example, Soviet buildings mixed with weird sci-fi elements, strange floating objects in the sky, and creepy abandoned structures. The problem is that these cool moments are spread thin across a map that's mostly just empty space. You're gonna spend way too much time running through nothing trying to reach the next objective. Most zones unfortunately tend to look identical after a while, and you can't interact with much of anything, so it does feel quite hollow despite the occasional nice view. Technical problems are there, like some weird textures. The enemies spawn directly on top of you, and sometimes the game kicks you back to menus randomly. The survival mechanics add another aspect of maintenance, where you're managing hunger and rest. The resources matter for crafting at workbenches around the world. This system uses materials you find plus these artifacts and anomaly energy that you collect from these environmental hazards. You can modify weapons with various parts and attachments, though the options for this seem to be pretty limited. The progression comes entirely from gear since there are no character levels. Story-wise, you get the standard setup. A mysterious island, the government sealed it off, different groups want control, and you are somehow important to everything. The game's writing stretches simple concepts into long conversations that don't really say much. The voice acting quality jumps around, but it's not terrible.
Take care of the affairs of Mavrodi, in the trade union on the territory of the pass. Nice to meet you.
That fight in the church showed us your determination, as well as your combat skills. It is exactly what we're looking for.
For me personally, the whole narrative tries hard to seem deep and mysterious, but it actually lands on generic instead. The enemy variety is your standard post-apocalyptic fare. Mutant dogs, zombies, human bandits, spider creatures. There's nothing really creative or memorable so far. They also all seem to attack the same predictable way, and the game's spawn system seems to take the lazy route, popping enemies right in front of you, and basically materializing behind you during fights. This is the same problem that Stalker 2 had for many months. The game's MMO structure puts players in settlement hubs for quest pickups, trading, and various equipment work before sending you back out. Now this game clearly wants to capture that hardcore survival MMO feeling with Stalker influences, but it misses what made those games compelling. The big world and faction system might be a decent base, but the execution falls short pretty much everywhere. Empty environments, weak combat, technical issues, and the obvious lack of polish make it tough to recommend. And that sentence concludes today's video. If your time was respected, a like or comment is very much appreciated.